Hey guys, Indy with Ultimate Tool Reviews here. Wanted to make a video on an interesting question I've heard a couple of times, and that is, do I need a larger 7 1/4 inch circ saw, or can I get away with having a 6 1/2 inch circ saw? Well, when it comes to these two types of saws, you're going to find a number of differences here. And I'm just using these two Makitas as just an example. DeWalt makes some excellent circ saws, Milwaukee's got some excellent circ saws, Rigid, Ryobi, Cobalt, everyone makes pretty good circular saws. And of course, most brands make both sizes. Now, each of these saws can have some really cool uses, and I definitely use both of them quite a bit. So, when it comes to the smaller circular saws, like the 6 1/2, they even make them down, I think, down about in that 3 3 1/2 inch range. I've got one of the really tiny Makita 12-volt ones as well too. But when it comes to these are kind of your sweet spot circular saws. They're going to cut most pieces of lumber with relative ease, as well as they're going to be overall pretty light, pretty maneuverable, and pretty compact in the hand as well too. So kind of a good circ saw to have around the house, quick on the job site use, and it's going to be easy to use, definitely easy to run there. Now when you bump up to the little bit larger circ saws, you're going to have definitely more cutting depth is going to be your number one biggest thing you'll find, as well as definitely more power, because that saw needs more power to run that larger blade, of course. But the disadvantages here will stack up here as well, just as fast as the advantages. So with the larger saws, they're generally going to be they're going to be quite a bit more bulky than the smaller saws. If you look at these two saws together, these are both the top handles from Makita. And if you look at the size difference here in these saws, it is quite noticeable here pretty fast. Just how much larger that 7 1/4 inch saw is versus this 6-inch saw here. Another thing with these saws is, of course, the battery capabilities here. So just as an example here with the Makitas, this is a 36-volt saw. It runs on two 18-volt batteries from Makita. This is just a regular 18-volt saw here. So to keep running this saw the same as this one, you're going to effectively need almost twice the number of batteries to run this saw continuously as you would need this one. So that's going to be one disadvantage there, but you will have slightly longer run time with a 36-volt saw. Just because you're running two batteries, it's not going to necessarily pull twice the power from the batteries at all the times, but it'll definitely give you a bigger, basically, fuel tank here that it's going to have to run these batteries. Not only that, but you're also going to have a greater weight on this saw. This saw is pretty much heavier without batteries than this saw is with a battery. So that's quite something to think about there too. Depending if where you're working with this saw, having to carry it up and down a ladder all the time, or maneuvering around a lot, it's going to definitely give you an advantage or disadvantage there, depending on how much weight you want to carry around with you. As well as too, with these saws, there can be a few interesting things when it comes to overall cost to use these. Depending on how fast you go through saw blades, some stores I've seen actually, the 7 1/4 inch is actually going to be the cheaper blade. I know it sounds weird to say, but it's actually, generally I find these more commonly than I do find the 6 1/2 inch blades. I've actually scored better deals on the 7 1/4 inch blades than I have the 6 1/2. So while one's going to be cheaper to buy initially, depending on how fast you go through blades, you might actually find that yourself cheaper to run the 7 1/4 inch saws, depending on your area, depending on the Lowe's, Home Depot pricing you have near you, wherever you buy your saw blades from. You might find one blade might be cheaper than the other there. So something to consider there as well too. And other than that, when it comes to just power overall use, it's never a bad idea to have both, actually. It's kind of hard to say. If you got to pick one, pick one. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick the larger saw over the smaller one, just because it's got more versatility. Yes, it's going to be heavier, it's going to be harder to use at times, but of course it's going to give me greater cutting depth, it's got more power, and a little bit longer battery time, being able to run two batteries on there as well too. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, which one you guys prefer, the 6 1/2 inch versus the 7 1/4 inch saws, and let me know what you guys are running for saws, and take care guys, have a great day.